The Royals escape with a win in Game 1 in Houston. We'll give you our thoughts next on Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned into another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. You also can find us on wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit that follow button and subscribe. For you first-time listeners, here's how this format works. We bring you episodes Monday through Friday every single week, though might have a little bit more of a unique schedule this go-around. I'm going to try to record early on Friday this week, so we will get that mailbag segment, but I'm going to be going out of town for a wedding this weekend, and then on Sunday flying to San Francisco for the Royals and Giants. Not sure if I'll be able to get an episode up Monday and Tuesday of next week. If I don't, we're going to make it up on Saturday and Sunday of next week. We'll still bring you those 60-second recaps, though, from the Bay Area. That'll all be covered throughout the week, and you can never miss one of those if you follow me on YouTube. Now, before we get started, or go any further, I should say, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off on your first year. It's a little too close for comfort tonight. It's the exact words I used on my YouTube 60-second recap, because that's how I would define this game. The Royals got up big in the first 3 innings in Houston. It felt refreshing. It was a relief after the way things had gone over the weekend against Boston. You gave Michael Wacha a ton of run support, something he wasn't used to through his first 7 or 8 starts of the season, and he continued to cruise. There was no point in the first 6 innings where I thought Houston would make things interesting, at least not without Yordan Alvarez in the lineup. Jose Altuve was still questionable going into the series, but he did play tonight. He did make a bit of an impact. But not having Yordan Alvarez in there was a huge difference maker. Not having to face him in the 9th inning, massive difference maker. Still, with Alvarez out there, it was going to be an uphill battle with a 7-0 cushion. But the Royals allowed the Astros to just creep back into that game. And as good as Michael Wacha has been, and we're all fully aware of the consistent guy that he is pitched like from the beginning of 2024 to today, you're hoping that carries on the rest of the season. He has been such a steady force amongst those 5 guys. If I was to have one criticism, and it's not even a bad one at that, I mean, it technically is a negative, but it's not something I would say derails him as a pitcher. But when the wheels fall off in his outing, I mean, it goes south quickly. That was one of the things I brought up last year as well, where you'd see him cruising through 5 innings, maybe 1 base runner, and then there's just 1 inning in the 6th, 7th, or 8th where it all spirals out of control. And tonight you saw that a little bit. The Royals were fortunate that Matt Quatrero was ready to go in a spot like that after he had given up a couple of base runners. They went to Schreiber, and Schreiber got him out of the jam, keeping a 5-run lead intact. So after the double, and then there was the single, and then the single, you were able to breathe a little bit easier, knowing that there's 6 outs to go. You have a 5-run lead. You shouldn't be blowing this with the way the Royals bullpen has pitched all season long. Then Steven Cruz had his first off night in 2 years. The command was not there. He hit a batter. He had a wild pitch. He gave up a 2-run single, and then there was an error by Drew Waters in right field. You were just ripping your hair out because it didn't need to be this close. It didn't need to be a dogfight, and you didn't need to use Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez to win that game. But you had to. And the most important thing is they won that baseball game. If they would have coughed that up in the 9th inning, I'm not sure how you show up to the ballpark tomorrow and feel like anything is safe. I mean, you use some high leverage guys, and to lose that game against Houston when Michael Wacha had given you another quality start, your offense, which has struggled, gave you 7 runs of support in the first 3 innings, you couldn't find a way to stay positive other than we're just flipping the page and we're going to worry about beating Valdez in game 2. And Framber Valdez is, a tough nut to crack for the Royals offense. And I expect that to be the same tomorrow. So to win tonight, it was vitally important, not just to get back up on the beam after losing the series to Boston, but it's a tough place to win it. I know the 2023 Royals had success there, oddly enough, but they were swept in 4 games, if I'm not mistaken, against the Astros last season. It's when they lost Vinny. It's when they lost Lucas Erceg for a little bit. It was an ugly series. And it's the one I remember the most when they went on that 7-game slide from the end of August into September. It is the single series I can remember the most. And I don't know if Houston is going to be a playoff team at the end of the year. They've got their issues. They're banged up. Their rotation is now banged up. They've got a damn good bullpen, which we saw tonight, and that wasn't even trying to hold a lead. That was trying to keep them in it. But they can bring out that winning pedigree whenever they want. That's maybe the most frustrating part of Houston, other than the scandal that goes back a few years. The frustrating part is that they never die. And whether that be in a single game or on the season, they were 9 or 10 games back last year in the AL West and then won that division. They did get bounced by Detroit in the wild card round, but still, to once again be the top dog in the American League West, it shows you that championship pedigree. They are a winning ball club, and they're always going to be tough to beat. When that dynasty, and maybe we shouldn't call them a dynasty, that might be too strong of a word, but this group of Astros players finally go away. And I really only say that Jose Altuve and Lance McCullers and maybe Yordan Alvarez, though he was more so toward the tail end of it. Like, when those guys are finally gone, that's when you'll say, okay, it's a different era of Astros baseball. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. But in the back of your mind, every time you see Houston on the schedule, you go, this is going to be tough. Even if they were 30-45, you'd go, this will be tough. They've got some dudes in that lineup that are tough to get out. And right now they're not playing fantastic baseball. You still can pat yourself on the back for winning a game down there and hopefully winning a series at, I believe now, was it Daikin Park? No longer Minute Maid. That was brought to my attention before the series. I'm one of those guys, too, that always calls stadiums by their older names. I don't always stay up to date with the new rebrands and the new sponsors. I'm sure a lot of people out there do the same thing. I always know it as Minute Maid. I might slip up and still call it Minute Maid, but that Astros team in that ballpark, they are tough to beat. And to see the Royals jump on a guy they hadn't seen before, we talk all the time about how it's difficult for them to face somebody they don't have much of a book on. That did not matter tonight. Ryan Gusto was just shredded from the get-go, even in the first inning when they didn't get a run across. They had a runner in scoring position. They had 2 balls that were hit pretty hard, and he was fortunate to get out of that jam by striking out Perez and getting Garcia to fly out. But the second inning, he gives up the home run, and then Isbell doubles, and India singles, and Witt Jr. doubles, and then you have another run on a Vinny RBI single. Then the next inning, he walks 3, he gets booed off the mound. That was the way you want to see the Royals pounce on a rookie pitcher. And I'm not going to go as far to say it's a sign of things to come. They're going to have a very tough arm tomorrow night. And when Valdez pitched in Kansas City, I was at that game. It was a little bit chilly, so he had that advantage of, having hitters up there that were bundled up. He gave up a run in the first and then a solo home run to Vinny in like the 5th or the 6th. Other than that, the Royals never threatened. They never had another runner at second base. He was dominant, and he pitched as long as the Astros could let him pitch. He threw 8 innings. Then the Royals shut him down in the top of the ninth. That's how good he was. I was very impressed with what he was able to do. He might have gone 7 2/3 now that I think about it. Over 7 innings, I do know that. And last year, he was no-hitting the Royals through like 7 innings, and they pulled him. The Royals ended up tying it in the 9th inning on a Paul DeJong home run, but lost in the bottom of the 9th. This was, one of those series where I looked at game 1, game 2, and game 3. Game 1 was a must. You had Michael Wacha on the bump. You had a rookie pitcher going for Houston. You could not afford to lose that game. You win game 1. You take your chances in game 2. And then you should be able to win in game 3, assuming the guy throwing is who I think is going to be throwing. It's not expected to be Hunter Brown unless I'm missing something, which is odd because on the ESPN schedule that I like to look at from time to time, they did not have Hunter Brown slated as a starter. And on MLB.com and the app, they still have TBD as their starter. So it might be Hunter Brown. If it is, then it's a good thing you won game 1 because it's going to be an uphill battle to win game 2 and game 3. Now, as for Valdez, he did struggle a little bit in some of the starts since Kansas City. Not last time out. He threw 7 innings, a 1-run ball against the Brewers, struck out 7, but he did give up 4 runs in 5 innings, 7 hits, struck out only 6 against the White Sox of all teams back on May 2nd. That was right after that start in Kansas City, where he did actually go 8 innings. So I was right the first time around. Bubic versus Valdez tomorrow, first pitch at 7:10. And then on Wednesday, right before the Royals off day, it'll be Michael Lorenzen against a TBD starter for the Astros. Though I do want to say the name of the guy I'm now expecting it to be. And I do want to give a shout out to who did remind me of who was going to be starting here. But it is another rookie. It's a left-hander. Not sure if he's a soft tosser or not, but this comes from, well, I might not have it in front of me now. I was stalling too long and couldn't get the name out there. You can leave the comment on YouTube and let me know who it is. But it is a lefty. It is a rookie, and Michael Lorenzen will be on the bump. That's what I'm expecting to this point. So, again, big to win in game 1. It'll be an uphill battle tomorrow, even though Bubic is throwing for the Royals. And then on Wednesday, hopefully you can get another great start from Michael Lorenzen, and the offense can do more of the same of what they did tonight. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, am I worried at all about Cole Ragans after what he showed against the Red Sox on Saturday? I'll give you my thoughts next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned in to Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Our first sponsor we want to let you know about is Monarch Money, and it is our title sponsor of today's show. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off on your first order. That's monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB for half off on your first year. Little reminder tomorrow that I am anticipating to do an earlier episode. I'll have stuff going on Tuesday evening, so the schedule for the rest of the week will probably be an earlier episode on Tuesday, an early episode on Wednesday, a early episode on Thursday, and then still not sure if I'll be getting an episode out on Friday. If I do, may or may not be Mailbag Friday oriented, or might just be able to use a couple of questions just because I have to record so early. I'll be on my way out of town for a wedding, as I brought up, but do expect some earlier episodes. Not going to be able to get these late night recaps in, kind of a busy week. And then next week will be busy as well, though fun because I'll be on the road seeing the Royals play in San Francisco. I'll have plenty of coverage down there. But that should be the plan for the rest of the week. Can always expect, though, those 60-second recaps. Our next segment, though, we are going to be diving into Cole Ragans and maybe the concern level that we should be having over the Royals ace. Personally, if I had to give you my honest opinion, which is what you guys all hope for anyway, I'm not going to try to lead you in one direction or just lie to the camera. I'm not concerned whatsoever about Cole Ragans. And I know there are some people in the comments that are concerned, maybe don't consider him to be the ace of this rotation anymore. And what I'm going to resort back to is last year and also what we've already seen him do this year. He's not been as efficient. We can all acknowledge that. We can all bring that to everybody's attention, that he has not been the Cy Young version we were hoping for to begin the season. And he is someone, as we saw last year, if you are pitching in a winner-take-all game, you are throwing game one in a playoff series, he's got the ball. And even though Chris Bubich has looked great, even though Michael Wacha has been great, both of those guys and Lugo, and you could even argue that Michael Lorenzen has been better than Cole Ragans. ERA-wise, maybe efficiency-wise, he has been better, put together more quality starts. If the Royals were playing in a playoff game tomorrow, Cole Ragans would be the game one starter. That's just what I believe, and I feel that's what the Royals would do as well, because he is dubbed as the number one of this staff. And even though these starts haven't been efficient, or not all of them, I should say, Saturday was not very efficient, but striking out 11 over 5 shutout innings against the White Sox, I know we'd all love for him to go 6 innings, and therefore you have the quality start, but I'm not going to tear down an 11 strikeout performance over 5 shutout innings. He's had multiple outings this year where he struck out more than 10. He'll go again on Friday against a red-hot Cardinals team who has now won 9 in a row and are just a few games back of first place in the National League Central. But Ragans is somebody that has the power stuff, and he is not someone that just occasionally pitches well. We can't fall into this trap of somebody not pitching as well, therefore we can't trust him anymore. Yeah, the 2-2 record and 4.20 ERA in 8 starts is not what you want to see. He's only thrown 40 2/3 innings. But guys, last year, Cole Ragans was, without a doubt, the ace of this staff. In 2023, once he joined the rotation, he was, without a doubt, the ace of this staff. In 52 starts with the Royals, he's got a 3.16 ERA. He will likely eclipse 300 innings with the team on Friday. He has already struck out 377. His whip is below league average over those 3 years in Kansas City. He strikes out almost 11.5 per game and walks only 3.2. This year, he is striking out 14.4 guys per 9, which is leading the league, I might add. And he's missed a start. He is walking less than 3 guys per 9. His whip's right around league average. I get he has not worked that deep into games. In fact, if you go back to that start against Cleveland, where he went 7 2/3, struck out 10, and didn't walk anybody, he's gone 4 innings against Colorado. He's gone, 4 innings against Detroit, gave up 5. He went 3 innings against Colorado, gave up 4, had the groin injury, had the 5 shutout against the White Sox. If you want to throw it out, okay, because it's the White Sox. And then 4 runs in 5 innings against Boston. Not efficient, not good. I'm not trying to say that it was efficient. But to no longer consider him a top pitcher in baseball, let alone a top pitcher in the rotation, I believe is maybe being reactionary to the moment. If last year he had posted a 4.5 ERA and he thrown 160 innings and he didn't pitch well in the postseason, then okay, I believe we can have that conversation. But 8 starts into the year where he still had some games where he's been completely dominant, it does not make me change as to who should be the game one starter in a postseason series. If he goes out there and struggles against St. Louis and he's only getting through 4 innings and gives up 6 or 7, maybe it's more concerning that there might be that groin injury flaring back up. He didn't indicate that after his start against Chicago in the clubhouse, and he didn't say much on it after the start on Saturday. It's something to monitor, but this is one of the top strikeout pitchers in all of baseball. And if he is going to be striking out 9, 10, 11 guys per nine, he's going to throw a lot of pitches as well. What I will say in the last handful of starts, the teams he's faced have done a really good job at fouling off pitches, making him sweat through 5 innings. When he's on, though, he's going to be able to get through 6. He's going to be able to get through 7. He did it so often last year. He did it so often in 2023. And I truly just believe at this point in time, he's going through a little bit of a rough patch. He had that last year as well. In fact, he had a far worse start than anything we've seen so far down in Anaheim when he gave up like 6 or 7 runs in the first 2 or 3 innings. I mean, he had gotten knocked around the park in that start. And that was a concerning outing. But sometimes great pitchers still go through these stretches where 3 or 4 starts in a row or 3 out of 4, you don't look as sharp. But he's still racking up the strikeout total. He's not being hit incredibly hard. In fact, to start on Saturday, it was 1 inning that spiraled for him. And it was because, and he brought this up in the postgame, he walked the 8-hole hitter. He had Narvaez up. It was 3-2. He should have been more aggressive. It was a great at-bat. You tip your cap. But that walk changed the course of that inning. Rafaela doubled. Then you had the single by Duran. Then you had another single by Devers. Bregman had the infield single. I mean, it was just single. A couple of them were hard hit. Some of them just were a ground ball with eyes. But 5 innings, 4 runs. Like, we can't treat that like it's 2 innings where you gave up 8 or 9. We can't view it that way. 5 innings of 4-run ball is not good, and it's not good from your ace, but it's not a catastrophic start. And that's why I'm not overly concerned. On Friday night, if he goes 5 innings and gives up 4 runs or 5 runs, not sure I'm going to say that we're in trouble, something's going on, but I would say that he is maybe having too long. It's too much of a extended stretch from your ace where he's not pitching as well. I would take 6 innings or 6 1/3 or 6 2/3, maybe only 5 or 6 strikeouts and 3 runs or less. A quality start right there. Just so you're not taxing the bullpen in game 1 of that series. I will say, though, I'm not concerned at all. I still feel that in a playoff scenario, it would be Cole Ragans, and I'm just going off of what I believe the Royals would be doing, what you saw last year, putting together one of the best starts in Royals postseason history. Let's not lose sight of that fact. And hopefully on Friday night, he dominates. He dominates in a rivalry game, sold out, not sold out crowd, close to maybe a sellout. There was over 30,000 last Friday against Boston. Should be good weather. Cardinals are in town. I expect a big crowd, and maybe you can expect a good outing from Cole Ragans. We're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, does Carlos Estevez finally have his velocity back? I believe he does, and I'll tell you why next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. The last sponsor we want to let you know about on tonight's show is Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, where each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to help you keep you feeling fuller longer. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more today. And for nights like this, where I was on a Twitter Spaces for about an hour, had to do the recap, watch the game, of course, and then do this episode in editing, you get hungry late at night. And I'm somebody that if I open a bag of chips, I'm going to eat the entire bag. I just love chips that much. Wonderful Pistachios keeps you satisfied, as I said. Couple of those, a handful of those, you'll feel good. If you're just snacking, if you're trying to get from meal to meal, and for me, working late, always love a good bag of Wonderful Pistachios, so I strongly urge you to buy a bag for yourself. Tonight was a little bit nerve-wracking, as we said. Didn't need to be that close. It was 7-0, and all of a sudden you looked up, and the Astros had the tying run at the plate in the bottom of the 9th inning. And Carlos Estevez on the bump once again. he has maybe given some Royals fans heartburn in watching him pitch in a handful of save opportunities this year. The numbers, if you just were to look at the basics, would indicate that he's been great, that he has been worth the money. He's not been Lucas Erceg, who's got a sub .6 ERA right now. Just ridiculous. One of the best relievers in baseball. He's not been that good, but he has been effective. He has gotten 14 save opportunities this year, and he's converted on 12 of them. They've not all been pretty. They've not all been 1, 2, 3, and I would go as far to say that very few have been a 1, 2, 3 inning. Tonight, he gives up the leadoff single to Jose Altuve, but then just was great against back-to-back hitters. He gets a strikeout, and he gets a lazy flyout. And on the year, he's got a 2.37 ERA. His whip is below league average. Opponents are hitting under 200 against him. He's got a 1.29 ERA in his last 7 games with 6 saves. Like, everything about what he's done looks efficient, right? I wouldn't go as far to say that. And we all know, if you've watched every single game, it has not been the definition of efficient. I would say it's been more so of not even consistent. I'm blanking on what word I'd be going for here. But he's just racking up the numbers. He's getting the saves. He's got 12, and I want to say that's still top 5 in the American League. And the Royals didn't have a true closer until Erceg joined the team late in the season, and he was still pitching as a fireman. He had that fireman role that he kind of has right now. So to have Carlos Estevez for the 9th inning is important. And you know what? I was totally fine using Erceg for only 2 hitters in the 8th inning and then going to Estevez in the 9th. Mainly because it was game 1. You don't want to burn Erceg for tomorrow night if you run into a very similar situation. And in previous games, maybe if I felt you really needed it, I would have gone to Lucas Erceg for a 5-out save or a 4-out save. Tonight, though, was different. After that leadoff single, and even in that at-bat, you saw the fired-up version of Carlos Estevez. And I'm not talking about the Dragon Ball Z stuff and the pounding of the chest and the yelling. I'm not talking about that fired up. I'm talking about his arsenal. I'm talking about the fastball. In so many outings this year, we saw the 93 and 94 to the first hitter. And against the White Sox, that 93 and 94 was not cutting it. It was very clear and very apparent that the White Sox film room watched those Carlos Estevez outings, and he would try to get ahead early in the count with his 93, 94 mile an hour fastball down the middle. Luis Robert, he jumped on it. It was also Miguel Vargas that had jumped on it. Matt Tice had jumped on it. And then it's 2-1. And first and second, nobody out. He got out of it, and his stuff started to play up again, but it took him 3 or 4 batters. Tonight, that was different. From the get-go, he was throwing 96, 97, and even touched 98 tonight. Got a pair of strikeouts and got a lazy pop-out. And that is the difference in the 8th and 9th inning moving forward. If you have Lucas Erceg throwing the way he's throwing, and he's looking like an all-star in every metric, you can trust Carlos Estevez to rack up a lot of saves with that type of power. And that's the power you signed. That's the type of power you saw last year in Anaheim and you saw in Philadelphia. When the postseason rolls around, you want that 94 and 95 to be 98, 99, and at times 100. That's closer stuff. Tonight, that was the closer version that you've been dying to see. And I believe that Royals fans should feel very fortunate that without his best stuff, he still converted a lot of saves. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and maybe it's not even that flimsy of a limb. It's not that much of a hot take, if you will. He's going to start having some really powerful innings. If this is the velocity that's back, and tonight is the true indication of the first outing where it's only up from here, I would expect some outings where he strikes out the side, he gets a lot of soft contact, and he just starts racking up those saves left and right, where you look up at the All-Star break and he's at 25 to 30, and he's near the top mark in the American League. He may not finish the year there. You would hope so, because that means a lot of wins for the Royals. But it allows you to take a step back and understand that Lucas Ursig needs to be the fireman. He needs to be the guy that can pitch in the 6th, 7th, or the 8th inning, at times the 9th. But if Carlos Estevez is healthy and throwing hard and he's available, he needs to be the guy to get you the final 3 outs in the game that he did tonight. Well, that'll do it for another edition of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I have been your host, Jack Johnson. Before we say goodbye, thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen a day. For your second, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, we'll have a little bit talk on the trade deadline, some guys that I think could be available and the Royals should target, and maybe if they're relying too much on their pitching. But that'll all come to you tomorrow on Locked On Royals. But until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.